Now,
But all this is provable, you know?
right, and I think that one thing that I want to make sure we cover before we would end this interview is this presentation now of this legal document, which the law firm that's listed on the document is Bleakley, Platt and Schmidt, LLP, in White Plains, New York. The principal attorney behind it is William H. Mulligan, Jr. I've been to their website. They are definitely a very bona fide legal firm. I haven't actually called them yet, but I plan on calling Mulligan and asking him just to verify that this suit is real. But I mean, it's a hyper complex document. It's loaded with numbers, documentation, with names, and I'm still on the receiving end of tons of hateful comments that people make towards you. And I would hope that this document will do a lot to allay those concerns, because it is very comprehensive.
Yeah, well, look, this is just, I mean, that group, you got to remember, that's the people behind that lawsuit are an important group within the West that support, you know, the move towards a more sane international financial system. But they're not the only group out there. A lot of people know that something's wrong and something new needs to be done. But what, like I say, it's a situation right now. My understanding is that chaos is the best word to describe what's happening now within the leadership circles of the Western world. And I would even include Japan in that. Okay, there's a lot of confusion. People don't know what to do next, and it's important to have a lot of open debate and truth disclosure so that people can make informed decisions. I don't think this should be handled behind closed doors anymore. I think it should be open to the public.
Right, and regardless of this...
But yeah, I mean...
Go ahead.
But, you know, if people have specific things where they think I am either wrong or crazy, I'm happy to answer it. I don't, you know, there's no point responding to slander, but if there's real arguments there, I'd be happy to listen to them, you know?
Well, when I did my due diligence on the document, the biggest concern of mine, which I published on your forum, was that in Section 33 of the document, there is a series of 8 sentences regarding the World Economic Forum. And then I said, when I was concerned about whether the document was legitimate, I looked up World Economic Forum on Wikipedia.
Yeah,
and the sentences on Wikipedia were almost exactly the same as what's in the legal document.
Sure, the guy writing the legal document says, all right, we know that it was a Davos World Economic Forum because there was a tape recording of a conversation with Giancarlo Bruno, who's the head of financial services at the World Economic Forum.
Okay.
Okay? So we have evidence, forensic evidence, that they're linked.
And you can present that,
so
yeah.
what's the World Economic Forum anyway? And the lawyer goes to Wikipedia and cuts and pastes 8 sentences.
Okay.
You know, sure. I mean, that's what people do. I mean,
right,
even lawyers writing up legal documents.
The other mistake that I made publicly that I want to correct, to your credit, was that in the document, the Office of International Treasury Control is referred to. I didn't read the document carefully enough when I wrote my comments to see that in the legal document, the legitimacy of this OITC and its alleged UN charter is challenged. In other words, they attack the OITC, but I think before I get to that, when you look at the OITC website, it is painfully amateur. It made me have to reload my browser in 32-bit mode. The videos were done on PowerPoint. There's lots of grammatical errors on the website. It's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke.
And
guy R.C. Dam, who they put up as a guy who supposedly was in charge, is some guy who's a Cambodian guy. He's on, by the way, he's on the run now. He's fled. People don't know where he is.
Right, and the really crazy
CIA, he was just a front man. You know.
Yeah, and the really crazy part too, if you actually look up OITC, Office of International Treasury Control, on Wikipedia, you read about this massive fraud that these guys, posing as the OITC, which allegedly is where the equity of the world's banks is being kept, instilled a fraud on Fiji and said they were going to finance Fiji in the billions of dollars, which of course didn't come to pass.
That's right.
And so any conventional con man, I mean, you'd have to have really brass balls to try to defraud an entire country.
Well, they realize, you see, these guys probably realize that the people who actually control the financial system themselves were based on fraud, and so they're trying to get a piece of the action.
Right.
That's my reading of it. But what I do want to emphasize is that, you know, even though Keenan and Scott have power of attorney right now, they shouldn't be put in charge of the planet all of a sudden. You know, we need an open discussion involving lots of people, and that discussion is going to take place at the forum of 117 nations, the Monaco Accords, who have agreed to set up a new financial system, and we need to get the G5 nations and their satellite countries to participate in these discussions so we can, as quickly as possible, come up with new global structures to replace the corrupt and rotten UN, World Bank, BIS, and IMF with something more representative of the people on Earth. And I don't mean a global government. I mean a common set of rules for the planet and we all share, the air we all breathe, the oceans we all use. Not some centralized New World Order control grid. All right?
Absolutely. Now, is the Malaysian War Crimes Tribunal that found Bush and Blair guilty of war crimes, is that in any way related to this 117-nation alliance?
It's just another sign that humanity is waking up and they're tired of being controlled by this criminal cabal. But that no consensus has been come up with what to do next. However, I can say this. There is a lot of support for my idea of a new international economic planning agency to do things like turn the deserts green and replenish the oceans with fish and stop environmental destruction, but not as a world government, but simply as some group that carries out big, long-term, and large-scale projects for the benefit of the people and the living organisms of this planet.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the people in these groups, they don't want to be working for the bad guy. They want to save face.
Exactly.
And
they all want to save the planet. So let's do it. Listen,
absolutely.
I have to go, but thanks for talking to me.
No, I really appreciate it, Ben. This has been a great interview, and my prayers and support are with you guys. And there was one other thing I just want to toss in briefly about the Office of International Treasury Control, and that is that I made a misstatement publicly. When I went back and read your document, the document clearly states that this was a fraudulent organization, but that the UN is at fault because they allowed this organization to continue to prosper without ever publicly refuting their alleged charter.
Ban Ki-moon himself, the head of the UN, is using fraudulent documents as we talk to try to take over African countries, just like they're using the same fraudulent documents to try to take over Europe.
My God.
Okay? Now, he's citing 7 families as his authority, and the 7 families, of course, are the 7 families that founded the Federal Reserve Board.
Oh my God.
And they have no authority. They're a bunch of crooks and gangsters. And we need to kick the bums out. All right?
Thank you very much, Ben.
But I don't want to end on a bad note. What we really need to do is end poverty, stop environmental destruction, and create a wonderful new future for the planet and the species on it.
Well, we're all behind you, and we look forward to the next update. Thank you so much, Ben.
Thank you very much.
All right. Take care.